Perception is currency. By publicly labeling Reeves as a trade chip, Paul was not just talking basketball. He was undercutting Reeves' leverage in Los Angeles. If the Lakers believe Reeves is the piece that must be moved to salvage LeBron's twilight years, they are less likely to offer him a full max extension. From a business standpoint, the move was a direct assault on Reeves' earning potential. It prioritized the immediate defensive needs of LeBron James to cover for his own non-existent defense.
All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Hope you all are having a good day so far. So continuing the journey of the oldest members request, it leads me to this one by Cliff Lottie, and his videos are over the top, so prepare yourself. This one is titled LeBron James and Klutch Sports Are the Worst. Now, I have to admit, and this is like sad, but the clown show of Klutch Sports and LeBron, it's so constant and frequent that I don't even remember what happened 2 months ago. So this is probably going to come back like it's fresh, but it'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that crap moment. So let's see what this one's all about. What's all this then? And I don't know why I keep saying that. Guys, let's get right on with it because I don't know what the topic is. So guys, link to the original video from Cliff is going to be down below in the description of this video, as well as a list of channel members. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate y'all. Like the video if you could, and let's see what this is all about.
The NBA is standing on unstable ground, at a crossroads that threatens its competitive integrity. And the danger isn't coming from outside forces or market pressure. It's coming from within. A small, tightly connected group inside the league has quietly consolidated more power than ever before. They've learned how to bend the system, reshape outcomes, and steer franchises in their favor. At the center of it all is Klutch Sports, led by Rich Paul and, by extension, LeBron James. What started as a player representation agency has grown into something far more influential and far more disruptive. Klutch now operates less like an advocate for players and more like a power broker.
Yeah, it feels like the mafia.
One that destabilizes franchises, shortens careers, and erodes the league's collective bargaining balance. While the agency positions itself as the vanguard of quote-unquote player empowerment, the evidence suggests a darker reality, a system of quote star empowerment, where the fiduciary duties owed to secondary clients and the competitive interest of teams are sacrificed on the altar of LeBron James's immediate gratification. This has turned into something way closer to a cartel. Franchises get strong-armed, players get used, careers get tossed aside, and the league pretends everything's fine as long as the stars keep smiling for the cameras. This quote shadow front office, utilizing public pressure, media manipulation, and destabilizing trade demands to engineer rosters. Nobody faxes trade requests anymore. You float them on podcasts. The latest salvo was fired on the Game Over with Max Kellerman and Rich Paul podcast, a platform that allows the Klutch CEO to shape narratives without the friction of objective journalism.
I'm surprised Rich Paul didn't take some kind of fine for doing that, because it did feel like collusion a lot. He's on his podcast like pitching trade ideas, you know, and discussing the potential of them. This is stuff that's supposed to be done behind closed doors. Plus, you're an agent, not a general manager.
During a segment discussing the Lakers roster construction, Paul explicitly floated a trade scenario, sending Austin Reeves to the Memphis Grizzlies in exchange for Jaren Jackson Jr.
I would probably be targeting the Memphis Grizzlies as a trade partner for Jaren Jackson.
I just realized the irony. He's talking about Memphis, and now we are at the point where LeBron is like bad mouthing Memphis, saying they don't deserve a team, blah 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 blah. Should have pitched a trade. You should have pitched to send LeBron over there, man. What are you doing? Man? We should have. That was the weak link. Anyways, it wasn't Austin Reeves. He's not the weak link of the Lakers, and it definitely isn't Luka. Send LeBron over there. Let him finish his career out there.
Yeah. That'd be a great fit.
I would.
For whom?
Well, that's the thing. Because you got to figure out the package. This comes with
Austin Reeves.
This comes with a very unemotional attachment because Austin is beloved, which he should be.
But he's about to get paid. He's
an underdog. And here's the thing. If there's a world where you can do what's best for your team and do what's best for Austin, because Austin deserves to get paid right now.
He's going to get paid as soon as LeBron's out. He's going to get LeBron's money. That's what's just about to happen. He just needs LeBron. He even mentioned it. He said he didn't mind taking less money so LeBron can play again. Like that's literally what it is. He knows he's next in line. He doesn't have to go anywhere. Stay in LA. Stay in LA. Him and Luka are going to be those stars in LA for the next 10 years.
Just like that, no warning, no filters, no shame. This was not a casual observation from an analyst. It was a tactical deployment of influence from the most powerful agent in the sport.
Agreed.
He dressed it up as, quote, basketball logic, framed the move as a, quote, basketball decision, arguing that the Lakers, in building around Luka Doncic and LeBron James, needed defense. Said Triple J.
How are you going to build around LeBron James, though? He's out after the end of the year. Why would you build around somebody who's done? It's over. And now, but at that point it was about halfway through the season. So you're going to build around somebody who's going to be there for half a season and then it's over? That makes zero sense. Why not build around Austin Reeves and Luka, which these guys will probably be there for the rest of their careers if they're allowed to.
Doesn't want to rebuild. Translation, Reeves is the piece we're willing to throw in the fire. It signaled to the entire league that Reeves was available, effectively lowering his market value and creating immediate friction between the player and the franchise. Only problem, Reeves ain't even a Klutch client. The impropriety of this act cannot be overstated. In agent culture, that's crossing a line. Austin Reeves is represented by Aaron Riley and Reggie Berry of AMR Agency. For an agent to publicly advocate for the trade of a rival agency's client is unheard of. You don't publicly shop another agency's player. You especially don't do it when he's in a contract year.
Yeah.
It was a, quote, backstabbing attempt designed to sacrifice Reeves' stability to solve the defensive deficiencies of a roster constructed by Klutch's previous interventions. That wasn't commentary.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that he's allowed to be an agent and now he's also part of the media. You should have to pick one. You can't be both, dude.
Was a message to the league he's available. The timing of Paul's comments reveals the calculated nature of the slimy practices by Klutch Sports. Yep. Austin Reeves was in the midst of a career-defining season. He was balling. A career year and a contract year where his performance would dictate his financial future. Every exec in the league knew his next contract was about to be massive. Then Paul labels him expendable. In the NBA, perception is money. Once a guy is seen as trade bait, teams stop viewing him as a cornerstone, and suddenly that $200 million ceiling starts shrinking real quick. League executives viewed Reeves as a future max or near max player with contract expectations.
I could see him playing for the Heat, by the way.
Approaching $200 million in total value. In the high-stakes world of NBA contract negotiations, perception is currency. By publicly labeling Reeves as a trade chip, Paul was not just talking basketball. He was undercutting Reeves' leverage in Los Angeles. If the Lakers believe Reeves is the piece that must be moved to salvage LeBron's twilight years, they are less likely to offer him a full max extension. From a business standpoint, the move was a direct assault on Reeves' earning potential. It prioritized the immediate defensive needs of LeBron James to cover for his own non-existent defense over the long-term financial security of a young player who had done everything right by the franchise. The trade suggestion wasn't just reckless, it was a financial hit job. Also, LeBron could get a rim protector to clean up behind him. The tension engineered by Paul's comments spilled over into the physical realm in a manner rarely seen in professional sports. Reeves' agent, Reggie Berry, confronted Rich Paul at half court during a nationally televised game. That never happens. In the insular world of sports agencies, conflicts are typically handled in private phone calls or quiet boardroom meetings. For Berry to check Paul in full view of the cameras and the crowd was a deliberate signal.
Good.
Berry was protecting his client from being treated as a pawn in Klutch's.
Yeah, Rich Paul did it publicly, so why not? Yeah, let's continue this publicly then. I'm all for that.
hypothetical
You set the tone, Rich.
trade machine, and it exposed the Lakers for what they'd become, a team split between the Klutch orbit and everyone else just trying to survive it. The logic behind the trade proposal, acquiring Jaren Jackson Jr., further illuminates the shadow GM role Paul plays. Jackson Jr., a defensive stalwart, is theoretically the perfect complement to an aging LeBron James.
I'm also surprised Rob Pelinka didn't check him. You know, I would have been like, stay in your lane, buddy. You're an agent. I'm a general manager. And I don't even like Pelinka, but I would have supported that.
However, Paul's public pursuit of him ignores the reality of team assets and salary cap mechanics, acting instead as a wish list that puts pressure on the Lakers' actual general manager, Rob Pelinka. By floating Triple J, Paul effectively set a standard for the trade deadline. If Pelinka fails to acquire Jackson Jr. or a player of similar caliber, he is seen as failing LeBron. If he does trade Reeves, he angers the fan base and mortgages the future.
Yep.
It is a heads-I-win, tails-you-lose scenario for the front office, orchestrated entirely by an agent who technically has no official role in team management. LeBron, right on schedule, denied involvement. I don't think anyone believed LeBron would have said, yeah, I floated the idea to Rich, or Rich does as he is told. No, but instead he said, Rich is his own man.
Yeah.
Said they never talked about it. And maybe on paper that works, but in real life, nobody in the world buys that.
Yeah, I didn't buy it for 1 second when I heard it. I mean, the thing is you got to look at what the guy wants. And LeBron wanted one more year with the Lakers, and I think he was going to retire after this season. So basically next season, one more year. And the Lakers said no. So, you know, at that point, it's a money situation. The money is going to go to Austin Reeves, and they need to free up that $52 million from LeBron. It's a business move at this point. So LeBron's thinking, okay, if we get rid of Austin Reeves, we eliminate that problem. Maybe I can sign again for 52 or maybe even more and have one final year in LA without having to move, and then we can call it a career. That's what he wants. The fact that he's willing to sacrifice somebody he claims is like his buddy, you know, Austin Reeves, it's just typical snake move from him.
Denial rings hollow. The relationship between James and Paul is not merely professional. It is symbiotic and spans over 2 decades. They are business partners, childhood friends, and the dual architects of the player empowerment era.
Yeah.
The notion that Paul would publicly advocate for trading a key teammate of his most important client without at least tacit approval strains credulity. Paul doesn't sneeze without knowing how it affects LeBron. That's not disrespect, that's reality.
Yeah.
He floats the test balloons. If they pop, LeBron denies involvement. If they float, the trade happens.
Yeah.
It is a cynical...
And Rich is incentivized with all of this as well, because if LeBron signs another fat contract, then Rich takes his percentage, man. That's what an agent does.
Manipulation of public discourse that allows James to maintain his benevolent king persona while his agent ruthlessly clears the board of unwanted pieces. The audacity of the Reeves trade rumor birthed a powerful counter-narrative. Maybe Reeves ain't the problem, maybe LeBron is.
Yeah.
Because everything has to revolve around him. Every move, every sacrifice, every panic trade. LeBron James is the actual impediment to the Lakers' success and long-term health.
100% agreed. And and you all know I've been preaching this from the rooftops all year, all last year. They are a much better team if he leaves, and the $52 million has a lot to do with it.
LeBron's presence now stifles the development of a cohesive team culture. His insistence on win-now moves, like the disastrous Westbrook trade, has depleted the team's assets. Reeves represents the modern NBA, young, efficient, and on an upward trajectory. Trading him for a defensive specialist to maximize a 40-year-old LeBron is viewed by many as malpractice.
Yeah,
Trading
it is.
LeBron, if you can convince him not to exercise his no-trade clause, would essentially cut the head off the snake, move James to a contender for draft capital, keep Reeves and the young core, and free the franchise from the grip of Klutch Sports. Reeves is the future, and LeBron time is up.
Yes,
Trade
sir.
the star, keep the team. To understand the Reeves incident, one must understand the machine that produced it. Klutch Sports is not a traditional agency. It is a disruptor that has reshaped the landscape of the NBA through a unique blend of personal loyalty, aggressive conflict of interest, and the leveraging of a singular superstar's gravity. In 2002, Paul met LeBron selling vintage jerseys out of the trunk of his car. This interaction would change the trajectory of sports business. While Klutch markets this as a triumphant tale of American meritocracy, the outsider storming the gates of the establishment, it can also be viewed as the root of the agency's perceived unprofessionalism. Paul did not ascend through the rigorous, regulated pathways of law school or corporate management. He was handpicked by a prodigy. This lack of traditional institutionalization is often why he says stupid shit and is the reason for the agency's disregard for norms. Rich Paul's story gets sold like a movie script. Jersey hustler meets superstar, beats the system. But the flip side is this: he never came up inside the system, so he never respected its rules. Klutch Sports
That's a hell of a line.
functions as a vehicle for LeBron James to act as a player owner, a violation of the CBA. Players are strictly prohibited from holding an equity interest in an agency to prevent conflicts of interest. For example, a star player funneling teammates to his agency to control their contracts and extract fees. In 2017,
And that's why I hope both Luka and AR stay the hell away from Klutch. They already got AD.
the NBA formally investigated whether James held a stake in Klutch Sports. The investigation concluded he did not. Despite the legal clearance, the functional reality suggests a distinction without a difference. James refers to the agency as family. It's known that it's really LeBron who recruits for Rich Paul. If James is the de facto owner or chief recruiter, then every negotiation Klutch enters is tainted by his influence. The Reeves incident suggests that if you don't sign with Klutch, or if you stand in the way, you become a target. The Klutch business model is predicated on the brotherhood, a tight-knit circle of trust that ostensibly protects players from the predatory nature of owners. However, the dark side of this model is that it demands absolute fealty. And if you fall out of favor, you don't just lose leverage, you disappear. The bodies. Nerlens Noel lost $58 million, ignored calls, dropped to minimum deals. That's not tough business, that's neglect. Ben Simmons. Mental health became a chess move. The league paid the price in credibility. Montrezl Harrell. Signed cheap, used quick, traded faster. Klutch careers age like milk unless you're in the inner circle. The acquisition of Anthony Davis stands as the magnum opus of Klutch Sports' aggressive strategy. It was a masterclass in leverage, but it was achieved through gangster tactics that burned bridges and fundamentally altered the relationship between teams and agencies. In January 2019, with the New Orleans Pelicans season in full swing, Rich Paul publicly declared that Anthony Davis would not sign a contract extension and requested a trade. This was a direct violation of NBA rules prohibiting public trade demands. The league fined Davis $50,000, a sum that Paul likely viewed as a negligible cost of doing business.
Absolutely.
The darkness of this move lay in its intent to destroy the Pelicans.
I've seen banks like Chase Bank and stuff like that get away with billions of dollars worth of fraud, and then they get slapped with about like $50 million. And it's like, well, they just profited out of that deal. Like, what's the point of the fine? Like, what the hell? They're going to do it again, and they keep doing it again, of course.
By announcing that Davis wanted out and specifically leaking that he wanted to go to the Lakers, Paul ensured that other teams, like the Celtics, would be hesitant to offer their best assets for a rental. The demand turned the Pelican season into a circus. Davis was booed by home fans, and the toxicity in the locker room became unbearable. In a surreal turn, Davis began leaving the arena in the middle of games with Rich Paul, creating visuals that humiliated the franchise. It was a scorched earth policy designed to make the situation so untenable that the Pelicans would be forced to capitulate to the Lakers just to end the nightmare. The coordination between LeBron James and Klutch during this period was brazen. James openly spoke about how amazing it would be to play with Davis, fueling tampering charges. While the league could not prove a conspiracy, the sequence of events, Davis hiring Klutch, James praising Davis, Paul demanding the trade, followed a script that felt entirely pre-written. It solidified the perception that the Lakers roster was being built not by Rob Pelinka, but by a shadow front office operating out of Klutch headquarters. If the Davis trade was the shadow GM's greatest victory, the Russell Westbrook trade was its most catastrophic failure. It serves as the definitive counter-argument to the idea that player empowerment leads to better basketball decisions. The Lakers front office reportedly resented the pressure from Klutch that led to the trade. It exposed the dysfunction of a team where the superstar's agent has more influence over roster construction than the scouting department. The accumulated weight of these incidents, Reeves, Noel, Simmons, Davis, Westbrook, forms my basis that Klutch Sports is bad for the league argument. It is not just that Klutch is aggressive, it is that their methods corrode the foundational trust required for a sports league to function. The Reeves rumor is a prime example.
Sorry, I'm not saying much because I agree with everything.
Utilizing media connections to devalue a non-family member to benefit the family patriarch. It creates an environment where the agency is actively working against the cohesion of the team its biggest client plays for. Klutch isn't built on balance, it's built on loyalty. Collusion in the NBA is strictly defined as teams conspiring together. However, the behavior of Klutch Sports borders on reverse collusion, a centralized player power structure that manipulates the market. The Klutch model is illegal because LeBron's involvement in recruiting essentially makes him a partner in the agency. While unproven in court, the perception of illegality is toxic. It creates a belief that the game is rigged. The Austin Reeves incident was the tipping point. It revealed that as long as LeBron James remains a Laker, the franchise will be held hostage by the whims of Rich Paul. The Lakers should not trade Austin Reeves. They should not trade their future to appease a shadow GM.
I think even LeBron fans would agree with that. It's such an obvious thing.
Remove the slimy influence of Klutch Sports and restore organizational sanity. The most logical basketball move is cutting ties with Klutch Sports at the end of the season, thereby dismantling the shadow government and returning the franchise to the principles of meritocracy and team-first basketball, not out of hate, not out of disrespect, out of survival. As long as LeBron is a Laker, Klutch runs the room. As long as Klutch runs the room, young players like Reeves are disposable. The Reeves situation wasn't an accident, it was policy. And in the game of Klutch, there are only two roles. You're either the king or you're the piece getting pushed off the board. Like, subscribe, share, and maybe even hype the video. Let me know if you agree with my sentiments that Klutch Sports is bad for the league.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's basically like the mafia, the way I see it. And the whole idea of let's keep LeBron and get rid of AR, like it's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in professional sports. It's like, imagine when Shaq was in his final year in his career and he was playing for the Celtics. You know, he's obviously not the same Shaq anymore. Imagine if they had a prime Dwight Howard on their team, a young prime Dwight Howard, and instead of, pay Dwight Howard and keep him for the future, they just offload him and then give Shaq the max. Like, there's no team in history would ever do a move like that. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. You would only do that if, say, LeBron played his entire career for the Lakers, but he was getting low pay his entire career because he chose to do so in order to win. Think like a Tim Duncan, always took a pay cut so he could make sure, there was enough money to pay all of the other stars on the team. LeBron never did that. Plus, he's played for he's played for 3 teams at this point. So, not the same situation. But that's the only way where I'd be like, yeah, well, you probably do. You know, if he was getting paid like $20 million a year, and then his final year, it's like, hey, we're going to give you 52 on your way out for one last year, then I kind of understand what's going on. But this is not that situation. So, yeah, I mean, I hate to be a prick, but like if I was the Lakers owner at this point, first of all, I would have gotten rid of LeBron a long time ago. But if I was really, really adamant on keeping LeBron, I'd say 20 mil, you got to come off the bench next year. That's it. You know what I mean? 20 mil, 1 year deal. You come off the bench. These are my terms. That's not going to happen, obviously. So obviously I would have offloaded him years ago, actually, I have to admit. So I might be in a minority on this one, but the idea of I would get rid of LeBron for the Lakers is not something that's just this season. I see a lot of people saying it now, but there's a certain, you know, a handful of us who were saying it last year and the year before. And yeah, that tone hasn't changed at all for me. But the idea that it just shows, once again, LeBron, Rich Paul, Klutch, these guys are not for the organization. They're not about the franchise. They're not about the city or the people in the city. They're not about any of that. They're out for themselves and only for themselves, because they've continuously damaged every team that they have been a part of. Once they're done using the team, they destroy them on the way out. And a move like this would destroy the Lakers on LeBron's way out. Let's get rid of one of the two stars on a team just to make me happy for 1 year. And then I'm going to leave you guys anyways. Stupid. And the level of entitlement to expect these things makes me want to vomit. So, guys, great video by Cliff. Thank you for the recommendation. Leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. And most importantly, it's the be water, my friends. Peace out, everyone.